Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's edition of Eagle's Mind Discussion. Today, we are actually thrilled to have with us a seasoned software professional with over 13 years of experience across backend systems, mobile development, and cutting edge technologies. This young man has built scalable, high performance solutions and stayed ahead in a rapidly evolving tech world. He's a very passionate person when it comes to innovation, problem solving, and sharing knowledge. In fact, he's one of my IT mentors all the way from university days. So today we're going to be having our guest speaker, Mr. David Echomgbe, speaking on thriving in the AI era. And it's such an honor to have you on board, Sam. Over to you, boss.
Thank you so much for um this opportunity. Thank you for inviting me. Um yeah, it's really an honor to be here. It's been, we've known each other for a long time now, years, just like you highly rightly mentioned, back in university days. So it's good to catch up here as well. I know that life has taken us different routes, different paths, but it's good to see that you are really investing on this, and I am really impressed. And yeah, all right, I'm just going to get started. Um, yeah, so we're talking about thriving in the AI era. Ideally, this would have been a two-part series. Speaking with the host a few moments ago. So essentially, with the first being, how to boost your career and business and stay ahead of the curve, and then the second, how to spot, skill up and then seize AI opportunities. So essentially, for those that are into entrepreneurship, or investors, those will be the ones that are interested in like the second one. So the idea is to, get you comfortable with AI and then position yourself, in the AI revolution. So a little about me. I'm more of a software architect these days. I'm not one for titles. However, I've been working in the tech space, correction, for over 15 years now. I know you mentioned 13, but yeah, it's been over 15 years now, and I've had experience across mobile development, web development, desktop application, backend, essentially the whole stack. Before the likes of ChatGPT became a thing, I had worked in the AI space a bit, with natural language processing, building chatbot applications to help understand requests and then take action. Um, so that's much about me. So in the next few slides, what I'll try to do is to establish a baseline for this talk. um, there's really no need to introduce AI. I believe everyone, should know about it by now. And also, I just have about 30 minutes, which I fear might not be enough for this. So we'll just get started with it. Okay, now, artificial intelligence is reshaping the future at a breakneck pace. Like every week, we're hearing a new headline about, this AI tool, that AI tool. And AI is rapidly becoming a foundational technology across virtually every sector. There are reports that the global AI market is projected to grow nearly 20-fold by 2030, to reach almost $2 trillion. That's outrageous. Also, AI-focused startups these days are attracting unprecedented investments, and these are for those that would like to get into entrepreneurship and stuff. Like in 2025, this year, roughly 51% of global venture funding went to AI-driven businesses, which is nearly double that of the previous year, and it's something that's expected to increase over the next year as well. So this reflects a once in a generation opportunity for entrepreneurs and investors. Many AI applications really, really remain largely untapped and are in early research stage. And early movers, can really establish strong footholds on this. Okay. Um, the key idea here is there's going to be the next generation of billionaires, and business leaders that's going to emerge, those that who would understand, and leverage AI. Down to the big question, one which many people are, concerned about. It is really well known. It's not news that many people are worried that AI is going to take their jobs. In fact, surveys recently are showing that about 30% of workers fear that their job will be replaced by AI soon. Some are even switching careers, hoping that service roles, hands-on roles, will be AI proof. I remember seeing an ad, not long ago. I think it was put in a construction business. That it was like, Chat GPT, lift this up or put this block. So essentially, the idea is they're trying to state that AI is not going to do those heavy lifting. But I beg to differ in parts of it, but that's not the focus of this one. These fears are really understandable, to be honest. But there's really fear and then there's reality, really. What I would say here is that the future belongs to those who embrace AI as a tool, not those who run from it. This is a popular quote here from the Microsoft CEO. It says that AI won't take your job, but someone who uses AI will. There's truth to this, but it is not a complete story. It is like a half truth to me, if I would say. Not to get you worked up, but the other side of the truth is the fact that AI will actually take some jobs. Okay. But this is not the end of the story. We'll come back to this. Okay. I want to say something a little bit subjective, but from my experience and some of the things I've seen in some industries is that they are trying to be careful not to fully delegate tasks to AI, because a single incident can really set it back years. Okay, which can cause society to lose trust. Basically, it can take a few months to a few years before most jobs will really feel the impact of AI, and AI really replacing people. An example is like Tesla. I was looking at their tests, which they were doing in Texas. I think for a few months now. They still use humans, in their drive tests. So in order for a ride, you still have a human there to intervene in case of disaster. Because one incident can really make people lose trust and not want to use those kind of tools anymore. So, what the data says, we already talked about, a survey, showing about 30% of the, workers fear that their job will be replaced by AI soon. And that fear is valid. In fact, the World Economic Forum, predicts that AI and automation could displace between 85 to about 90 million of, jobs by 2030. That's a report that, was, issued this year. However, they would also create, between 97 million to 170 million. Those figures are an estimate. They'll create new jobs. Essentially, for every one job that is lost, it is estimated that, if you do the maths, approximately 2 jobs will be created. Now, how do we know this? History has shown that for every major technological revolution, from the Industrial Revolution, to the internet, they initially displaced some jobs, but ultimately created entirely new industries and opportunities. The key here is, adaptation. People will thrive will be those who adapt, upscale, and partner with AI, rather than, those who avoid it. So today, let's talk about how you can, not just adapt, but truly thrive in the age of AI. We'll try to demystify, some of the things that I can do, share practical tips to leverage, in your career or day-to-day business, explore reward, stories from people, down from accountants to marketers, software developers, teachers, essentially a number of persons who are already using AI to boost their productivity and open, new opportunities. By the end, it is my hope that you will not just see AI as a threat, but as a powerful ally, which you can harness, to stay ahead of the curve, essentially. Okay. The first thing we need to do is to adjust our mindset. We need to essentially make a mindset shift. Okay. Rather than viewing AI as a rival, let us start seeing it as a partner. essentially a tool for intelligence augmentation that can make you more effective. So if you want to play around with the words, AI, artificial intelligence, IA, intelligence augmentation. So if you begin to change your mindset that that is what it is, it's an augmentation to help you. That is like the first thing you need to do in order to, fully embrace AI and then, make it work for you. You know, AI excels at what, we might call reckoning, things like crunching numbers, recognizing patterns, memorizing facts, while humans, we excel at judgment, making sense of context, handling things like ambiguity, applying ethics, creativity, strategy. These are tools that you need in the, in the workplace of the future. So think of AI as your tireless assistant. What it does is, it's capable of analyzing data, at a very rapidly fast rate, or drafting a report in seconds, while you provide the guidance, the critical thinking and that human touch, that, the AI cannot really get into. The idea is to understand that you cannot compete with AI. Let's just face the fact. You know, um, and the things it can do faster. You know, so we just cannot compete. So what we need to do is to direct the AI. Okay, verify its results, apply human wisdom on top of, its speed and power. So AI gives you the data, and then you're sort of giving it direction. So that key mindset shift, it's something that we need to adapt. And this is one to remember, that AI is a tool, not a magic wand or magic oracle. It's powerful, but it also has its limitations. Depends on human guidance, essentially. It can massively amplify your productivity and creativity, but you are the driver. You remain the pilot, essentially. Okay. So how do we cultivate this mindset in practical terms? It starts by, upskilling and unlearning some old habits. We need to double down on things that are uniquely human. So things like durable skills, creativity, empathy, critical thinking, leadership, those kind of, durable skills, things that AI cannot easily replicate, you know. At the same time, we should be willing to delegate certain tasks to AI because they are tasks that it thrives at. So if AI, for instance, can save you, 5 hours of number crunching, that's like 5 more hours that you have to strategize, innovate, connect with clients. We have to essentially unlearn the idea that we must do everything ourselves. And instead learn to work side by side with AI as a teammate because let's be frank, AI is not going anywhere. It's here to stay. So to thrive, we need to cultivate a new skill set. Okay. Um, One that includes, curiosity to experiment with AI tools, creativity to solve, problems AI can't, critical thinking to interpret AI outputs, and, communication to share and apply, insights. And as Eric Schmidt, the former Google CEO, puts it, the future actually belongs to those who ask the right questions of AI. Now let's get into some practical guidance. How exactly can you start leveraging AI to boost your productivity and growth? The good news is that you really don't need to be a programmer or, a data scientist or use today's, AI tools. So many are easy, really. In today's many are easy to use. So some of them is just by typing a question in plain English, really. And so I've listed a few concrete ways which some people across different fields are using AI right now. So automates repetitive tasks. So one of the things we want to do is to identify the boring routine part of your job and see if AI tools can handle them. For example, there are many professionals now using AI to draft routine emails, transcribe meeting notes, organize data. One nonprofit, accounting team, I was researching, they were dealing with, hundreds of, paper invoices and letters each week until they built an AI-driven workflow, that scans all of their incoming mail, extracts the text, and generates summaries and follow up, tasks automatically. So what used to take them like hours of tedious, manual sorting, that takes minutes of review, really. You know, for the next point, use AI as a brainstorming partner and research assistant. So you don't have to do creative work or research alone. The idea is to bounce off ideas, to the AI, ask questions like, what am I missing? What other points should I consider? It can even critique your work, which, will help you make it better. AI can essentially come up with ideas, generate ideas 100 times faster, which can essentially give you a running start. Next point is to upskill your, AI literacy. Make it a priority to get comfortable with at least one or two AI tools relevant to your work. By investing some time in, AI literacy, you essentially future-proofing your career. You would also gain, confidence as you realize where AI is useful and where it isn't. The key is to, use it wisely. Be the human in the loop. Using AI doesn't mean, you're abdicating your responsibility or your job. It always, excuse me, always remember to put your human judgment on top of, AI outputs. As an example, let's say you use AI to draft, a marketing plan, or you're a lawyer, you do, legal briefs, you know, um, faster. But then you would have to edit it, you need to fact check it. You're not just gonna send it out, send it off immediately, exactly as is. Essentially you want to add the creativity on top of what the AI is done. The AI is saving you time, add that creativity, add that empathy on top. Only you, the one that only you can provide. And as we're gonna see later, domain knowledge is very critical, in some of these things. Now let's cement some of these ideas with a few real world stories of, people using AI to level up their work across different industries. In accounting and finance is one of those traditionally conservative fields, but even AI adoption, in these industries is well underway. I think we already spoke about, CPA firm, that were automating, office mails. In another firm, they created, a special financial advisor chatbot that was trained on the firm's knowledge. So what it does is, it it was tailored to provide, answers instantly to clients for free. And this actually translated into dozens of new leads, which essentially resulted in, more revenue and, essentially paying clients. So there is, multiple examples. There's even another one where, auditors are using, AI to scan financial documents, in seconds, and even draft portions of financial statements. So this allows auditors to now focus on like the higher level analyses, tasks that you could used to take, like 4 hours, now take like 30 minutes. Um, in marketing and, creative fields, contrary to the fear, because there's this, fear that, AI will kill creative jobs. Many people are embracing it right now as a collaborative tool. Content writers use AI for idea generation, things like first drafts. um, so for instance, you can ask AI and then it gives you like 10 suggestions, for instance, which, one or two might be gold and the eight is, maybe mediocre. But the idea is that you have the ability to ask these questions, and for it to even generate 10 ideas in a minute, that is really invaluable. So what you now need to do is to now apply your own domain knowledge, your own, expertise on top of what the AI has given you, and you'll be able to, essentially combine ideas and create something way better than you could have done, alone. Even graphics designers, they're experimenting with, AI image generators. There's this Google VO tool that Google just released for creating, videos. Soon we're gonna see people creating movies, generating movies completely, using AI. So, if graphics designers, they're really quickly prototyping with, some of these tools, and then, what they do is then apply their own touch, their own experience to refine it. Excuse me. So, in some other industries like IT, developers are using AI coding assistants to boost productivity. This is something I use. It's this is closer to me. Um, AI can essentially just generate code snippets for you, help you debug errors way faster than you could do. Um, it might not always get it, but it can point you in the right direction. That what you just need to do is to apply finishing touches. At first, many of us engineers were really skeptical. Some of us were even threatened. But the productivity boost is really undeniable. I'm gonna tell you. Moving on to healthcare and medicine, AI's impact, it's really gone beyond like desk jobs these days. Medicine, there are a lot of examples. You know, it's essentially amplifying doctors, and healthcare what healthcare workers can do. In a recent survey which was done this year, it was found that about 66% of physicians are already using AI tools, which is like a huge jump, almost 2x from, you know, what it was, 2 years prior. In hospitals, AI tools are used to help, triage patients, predicting who needs care, who needs urgent care, manage logistics like, ambulance routing, a lot of, applications which, AI is being used for in healthcare. Even teachers in education, and coaches are finding AI to be very, very useful as a helpful aid. For instance, some teachers, they reported that they use AI to generate lesson plans, plan ideas or, quiz questions for the students, especially for, topics, where they want like new, fresh approaches. You know, these examples, which, I've given, they all share one common thing. People are using AI to do more these days, not less. In each case, the individual's expertise did not become irrelevant at all. Okay, it became, more important in order to guide the AI. You want to interpret, results and then apply them in the real world. So the idea is not to, separate yourself from AI. The idea is to understand what AI can do for you, and then, build on top of it, apply your own, expertise, your own domain knowledge. Why act now? Um, So I found that AI adoption ranges, you know, essentially between 11 to 22% um, in several industries. Consumers are so essentially consumers are not really getting in as quickly as most of the hype is actually saying. So essentially there's a huge white space. That's what this thing means. As if you're an entrepreneur, for instance, this is something you want to really look into. If there are things that you could do or investments you could make. So the industry is still at its infancy, I would say. Most industries are still early adoption phase. So you can really get in now if you want to be in a good position to make good profits. There are many platforms that are available now these days. There are so many tools, open source models, local tools that you could use, to create solutions that you could, even sell. The takeaway here is that, the AI wave is just beginning, so we need to position ourselves early, as investors, as entrepreneurs, even as, a career person. Right. It is worth nothing that, you do not need, a tech background. Essentially, you don't need to be a tech wizard to do any of this. Many of the folks in the past, many of the folks in the examples that we've shared, they had little or no background in AI initially. Some of them were accountants, marketers, doctors, teachers. They were not like AI researchers, for instance. The key ingredient here, if we want to go into it, is that it's not its technical coding skills, but the problem solving mindset and the willingness to learn that you actually need. In fact, in this era, having a deep domain knowledge, of your industry, it's often bigger than the advantage of that tech knowledge. These days, because what is going to happen is that AI is going to be able to do most of some of those work, and then it is that your domain knowledge that you will use to drive it. Tell it what to do. Over see some of the things that it's done. Try to check the ethics part of it. Applying the human touch essentially. So An experienced teacher or lawyer, for example, knows, exactly where, an AI could, help in their workflow. So with so many apps these days, or no code or low code platforms, they can essentially use that to implement, solutions or partner with someone if, they lack the tech skills, to do it. So this means that you, with your, on ground experience in your line of work, you can spot those opportunities for AI and capitalize on them. Even if you're an engineer yourself, you necessarily don't need to code. You know how to code these days. Just know your pain points and be willing to try it. All right. Knowing all this, how can you position yourself now to leverage AI for future success? Whether in your career or your own business venture. Um, here are a few guiding strategies which I would suggest. For entrepreneurs, I would say identify white spaces to know what is missing or inefficient, in a given field, and then try to see what you can do if it's something you want to go in and then solve the solution, or identify companies that are breaking up in those fields and then invest. You want to start small with attempting to solve like a narrow pain point in your organization, what you're doing normally right now. I remember I had a friend, he was telling me the other day that, he was working with an AI agent to create, a game where you could buy things using your character, and then, it's like delivered to your house. So you have the likes of like Nike and, all of those stores. You just get in, so sort of like gamifying, some of those things. You get in, you can order for things, and then also still play the game, and you have some kind of, credit that is attached to your real funds, real credit card, and then, to get delivered to you. So he said it was like playing around with, an agent, one of the AI agents to like create, create some of it. So there's really a lot, that you can do. You can prototype type a lot of tools and a lot of things, and before you know it becomes a business. The next point is to, essentially adopt a continuous learning mindset. Okay. In a fast changing AI landscape, you really want to build your most important skills, and also put yourself in a position to learn new skills, which means you have to upskill continuously, especially if you want to identify gaps and, create businesses, that you could use to make profit. You want to focus on high level human skills. AI handles the more, day-to-day routine tasks. The relative value of your distinctly, human abilities, it begins to shine, it begins to increase. You also want to leverage AI to innovate in business. If you run a business or you plan to start one, you want to consider AI not just for the efficiency, but for innovation. Ask it questions like, what new value can I create to our customers in AI? Those kind of, questions. And, if you give it the right prompt, you can be amazed at the response it gives you, which can essentially save you time. So, for the other one, you want to stay ethical. You want to cultivate an ethical and responsible approach, which is one of the, what I say, issues with AI, or one of the concerns globally with AI. With great power comes great responsibility. So, as you integrate AI into your work, you want to be mindful of some of the ethical implications, because some of them can be really expensive if you're found out. As an entrepreneur, you want to network. You want to join AI communities, hackathons, meetups. You want to learn what people are doing essentially and how to collaborate. You don't want to opt out of AI. You want to engage with it. You want to perhaps, you know, the biggest risk, which you could do right now is just ignoring it. You want to be part of that, AI revolution. So what I would say is, don't opt out of it, engage with it, and yeah, you will definitely be ahead of the curve. Okay, after positioning yourself, the next thing is to ask yourself, a number of questions that will propel you to build your AI advantage. So you want to ask questions like, what parts of my job are repetitive? So when you begin to ask yourself these kind of questions, you begin to you can also put the prompt to, AI and say, okay, I repeat this part of my job, very frequently. What can I do to optimize it? There are tools out there. You could, essentially just, make things faster for yourself. What insights could AI help me discover? How can I use AI to serve customers better? These are questions that, can help you, scale up, both your business and your career. How can I use AI to build a side hustle, automate a service? There are so many other questions that you could, answer. Okay, I'm gonna try to move fast because I think I'm almost at time already. Um, Now, the new AI economy, AI is creating a new wave of entrepreneurs. These days we see a lot of solopreneurs, if I'm gonna call them. They offer, AI, consulting. So what it means is like just a single person that, uses AI to do a whole lot of other tasks, and then they focus on the business side of it, interacting with clients, relating, with customers and those sort of things. Um, Creators are building AI digital product focused products. Small businesses are automating operations. Examples here are, local baker, they're using AI to, plan inventory, reduce waste. So many tutors are, adopting AI to create personalized client content. Even real estate agents, they use it to generate, property ads that's going to, essentially captivate people. For those that are investors, you can really identify several opportunities in several industry and take advantage of them. I remember a few weeks back, I received a newsletter from the Motley Fool. I don't know if anyone follows the Motley Fool. It's about an investment, So I wasn't a paid subscriber for that, Motley Fool. But what they give you is like hints about, potential investments that you could do, without really telling you the company. So that they just want you to subscribe essentially. So when they give these hints in the email, I looked at it and I'm like, okay, I took it, the information, and I prompted ChatGPT and I was like, identify the top three. I didn't want to say I just identified the one because it could, I don't want it to make a mistake. I want to, because that's part of the job you're supposed to do. AI is going to help you find information, but you want to go through it and then review it and, make that decision yourself. So I told you to identify the top three, that fits those hints, and then give me your opinion on which one closely matches that hint and why, and essentially he identified the company, like, the investment, and, I spotted it and, so those are things that you could do if you want to like, go into, investments, you're an, entrepreneur, you want to like invest in companies, So there are so many things you could hear in the news or stuff like that. You just prompt your AI and you'll be able to, get some of the information and then know how to get early into some industries that are upcoming. So for the brave, there are many opportunities to explore in industries or many industries. Just as the internet made many billionaires, what I tell people is that AI is even gonna make more. You know, so I've listed some industries here, opportunities, some startups that are also in that space, but I'm not gonna have the time to go through them right now. You don't even need to get in really, just to research and then know which one to really invest. You can get in if it's something that is close to your heart, get in quite early, create solutions, create businesses off of it. But you can also invest, in it. All right. For your action plan, as an action plan, I would say you should start small and scale fast. Identify one repetitive task. This is just you trying to create, an action plan for yourself. Going forward, having gone through this. You identify one repetitive task in your job and automate it. Even if people lose their jobs, as the one integrating that tool, you have a better chance of keeping your job, really. So for those, in the design and creative space, you want to experiment with AI, use it for at least one creative process, see how it helped you, bounce off ideas, make edits and see how it's going to save you time. And then the last one, you want to follow at least 2 AI newsletters to, keep staying informed because AI is moving very fast. So you really just want to stay informed. And for my final thoughts, um, in the future, you will either use AI or be replaced by someone who does. Now, this part of the statement is true. So we really need to do this. So it's either you learn, about AI and apply it, or you're definitely going to be replaced. There's no two ways about it because AI is going to create new streams of jobs, new patterns of jobs. It's also going to retire existing ones, not all the existing ones, but it's going to retire a lot of jobs. So you want to be ahead of the curve. Adopt all of these, so that you can be one of the front lines. For this. The AI era, it rewards learners, it rewards builders, and it rewards integrators. So every industry is definitely going to have its AI first leaders. And there's so many industries out there. Some of them are still in their infancy, which you can really get in, if you really want to be one of, like, the first time leaders in it. The biggest risk today really is just not doing anything. That's like the biggest risk. So my advice to you is to step confidently into the AI future. Use AI to grow your career and business, and stay ahead. So thank you very much.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Rich Boy. That was really profound. That's really profound. Cool. So I'm just going to take a couple of questions and you can help us do justice to the questions. So the first question I have here is, right now with AI revolution, how important is academics in getting into the tech industry?
So this question is not very clear. I'm trying to understand what you mean by how important is academics. Do you mean academia, like those into academics right now, like lecturers or teachers? Is that what you mean?
So if I understand the person's question very well,
Mm.
what the person is asking is, how important is it to go take go do like an MSc program
Okay.
or a BSc program or even a PhD program to get into the tech space?
Okay. So the thing is, so many of the answers I'm going to give are going to be subjective. Let's just be fact about it. But I'm going to speak from my experience and what I've seen the trend be, as well. So things about learning, you always need to know. That's the truth about it. Like I mentioned, domain knowledge. Things about domain knowledge are things that cannot be thrown away. You just cannot throw it away. Now, going to a school to learn, it's a different ball game. You can even use AI to learn these days. So it depends on what you are really going to learn. So you want to get into the tech industry, there is still time to get into the tech industry. There's no two ways about it. Like you want to build solutions because even though part of the things which we mentioned is that you really don't need to be like a tech guru to get into AI and do a lot of things. It's going to save you way more time if you actually understand what the AI is doing, because what the AI is doing is actually what you already know how to do. So what the AI is just amplifying it. So at the end of the day, if you want to build a tool or build a solution that will still touch the IT space, I would say go for it. Because your knowledge is invaluable. Okay. What the AI is just gonna do is, like I said, amplify it, make things faster for you. And what you do is not apply that your final touch, your human touch, which you actually know what you want. So AI can write code for you, but you need to proofread it because imagine you trying to create, let's say, an airline software. That's your plan. AI writes. I'm not gonna trust an AI to just write that kind of software. I want to go through it to make sure that things are working right, things are doing right, and that's where part of the expertise is also gonna come in play. So definitely yes, I would say go for it. Knowledge is something that you just have to keep learning. You never have to stop.
Okay, so I think my add-on question to that would be, will or should everybody have to go through the route of university, taking bachelor's degree courses or master's courses? Because I think I've kind of seen people that didn't go that route, that just went the route of, say, Coursera, say, Udemy, even a couple of other platforms like that, where they didn't even go to the to tertiary institutions. They just went through this route of these platforms and they got into the tech space. So what do you have to say about that?
So learning is learning, irrespective of if you're learning, via a university or you're learning, online. What I would say about it is you're going to university not just for those that really know the purpose. You're going to university not just to learn. You're learning to build character, you're learning to create connections. Those things are invaluable. Okay. So if you think you can actually create, all of those things outside of the university space, then definitely you can do that. Just like I pointed out, there are meetups that you could use to, build your um like your networking, and there's basically a lot. So yes, if you know that you can learn, because people learn differently. That's another thing people need to know. People learn differently. Some people learn by asking questions. Some of those Coursera, you don't get a direct answer. When you ask questions, sometimes it could take a few days, for the tutor to respond. Though these days, with AI, you can even help facilitate some of those answers. But so many people learn in different ways, so you just need to identify how you learn. Like personally, I learn by studying myself. I learn better. I get better knowledge by studying myself. So if it were me, I could potentially, essentially just, do away with university, if I would say. Like, I don't necessarily have to go to a university, because I know that I learn better by myself, by just looking at the content, studying, making research and stuff like that. So it depends on how you learn. So I would say going to a university, it's just that you need to understand where you're coming from, the side of the world you're coming from as well, culture and tradition, some of those things will play parts in some of your decisions. But if you're not really faced by those, then I would say really just do yourself, what you thrive at, go for it and then learn. Yeah.
Wow, that's a very good response. So I think the key thing you've mentioned here is that know what works for you. So for
Yeah.
some people, they are not as disciplined enough to embrace personal studying and personal learning. So they would rather go the route of university. So that's very, very key. So thanks for that. So this person, the next question now, this person actually needs an AI prompting course. So where or which platform would you suggest that this person goes to?
Okay. So the thing with AI prompting is, so there are so many things. It depends on what you want to really achieve. But one thing I've discovered is that AI these days, they tend to understand what you want to do really. Okay. But I have, learned a lot from, X, as Twitter, formerly called Twitter. I've been on Twitter and then I see so many people post their own kind of prompts. Some of them make reference to, place like Reddit, so you can join, like those kind of Reddit, what do they call them?
From
There's yeah. Yeah, there are forums, but there's a particular name Reddit calls it. I was just trying to remember the name. Yeah, so you can just join, some of those, and then you would see what people are doing. Okay. If you have the funds, another thing you can do is to always take a course. Okay. I'm sure that definitely there will be a course on, places like Udemy and the likes. But what I've done is to follow, some um accounts, on Twitter or X, that give this kind of information. So I use that, learn, adopt mine as well. So you just need to be curious about it. Like I said, in the slide, you want to follow news letters that are related with AI. Subscribe to platforms that will give you this kind of information because you're learning from their expertise, as well, and you're learning from their research as well. So those are things that you could do to increase your AI prompts. Yeah.
that's good. I know you mentioned about subscribing to AI newsletters. So are there suggestions that one can?
Yeah, there are a few ones really. Off the top of my head right now, I can't really, explicitly tell you this. But one of the things I normally do too is to follow like, like my Google News, I customize it in a way whereby it knows my interest, and then, just keeps giving me information, related to those. And then when I follow um the content for a while, if I see a new, provider, and I notice that it's, something good, I visit their website. If they have, a newsletter subscription, I subscribe. I go on YouTube to, follow some of the followers, some followers there, join their newsletter or subscribe to their YouTube channel. So subscription can be, newsletters, YouTube. It could even be, following a user, or registering on the sites, to get, daily details. But I can compile a list of some of the ones that I, follow, and then, send them out if, yeah, you need those information. Yeah.
That would be really great. Thank you, Rich Boy. So the next question here is a bit tricky. It says, how can a data analyst effectively leverage AI without essentially breaching data privacy laws?
So this is where the ethics part comes into play. Um, so like I said, with great power comes great responsibility. You have access to data. You have to be intentional about not breaching those laws. Okay. Because you might be tempted. I think the likes of Facebook, they've been in those kind of issues before, and it's pretty expensive, really. Because when you're found out, you'd have to pay a lot. So I would say what you need to do is understand what the privacy of a user is, and then respect it. So if, a privacy for a user actually, said, okay, I do not opt for this, you essentially don't want to use it. I've seen a lot of sites that have been hacked, and you delete your account, but your account is not deleted. Those kind of things. We've seen a lot of them, you know, even in, so many different kind of, promiscuous sites, because I follow all of those reports as well, those, hacking reports. I think the last one was I saw recently was, I'm trying to remember the name. Is it actually Madison? Yeah. So, they charge you about, is it $30 or some, they'll charge you some amount, to like delete your account. And then what happens is they don't delete the account. And some of these hackers, they were able to hack in, and then they discover those things, and stuff like that. So whenever you have access to people's data, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're respecting all the privacy states, because some of the, as you're collecting it, you need to essentially collect, privacy. People might want to opt to delete their data, and you should just, try to respect that. I think it comes down to your, your personal being, really. What you just need to have a conscience. Let's put it that way. I'm hoping that I got that question. I'm hoping that is
So, from being an auditor and also a data analyst, I would say you actually answered that question well.
okay.
Yeah. So the next question, we just have two more questions, and that's it. So the next question here is, how can AI be used to develop a website, and what tools are required?
So there's so many tools. Even ChatGPT. You can try a number of. There's so many free ones. App Gemini. Claude. ChatGPT. In fact, these days people use, like full IDs like Cursor. Um. So you have AI embedded in it. You have GitLab, Copilot. So one of the things you can do, if you understand the layout of what you want, you can just do a hand sketch and upload it to all of the sites, and tell it, create a website that looks like this, and then you describe what you want. It's gonna come up with the first draft, which might not essentially be everything you want, and then you want to refine it. There's another tool. I was trying to remember the name just before this. Is it walk something? I was trying to remember the name. That one is even, gives you a web interface that you can use to do, most of the things that you want to do. In fact, you can tell it to, you can upload, some data about your site, and then you tell it to come up with, a page or website to display it and stuff like that. So There are so many tools really, start with the popular ones, which start with ChatGPT. Yeah, that's like the most popular one. You can, look at more personalized one. There are so many other tools that are a little bit more personalized to that purpose. I can't really tell you the one that is going to give you the exact thing you're looking for perfectly, because like I said, there are some that have been trained specifically for those purposes. So you need to do a little bit of research, on that. What I do these days, I don't even do Google. I just, ask my, AI assistant to find those sites for me. So you can do the same thing. You can say find sites that I can use to, essentially prompt to build, website. It will give you websites that you could use, and then you go there directly, and then you start using the tools. But you can start with the ones first. There's a lot of them. Really, there's just a lot.
Cool. That's helpful. Thank you for that response. So the last question here says, could you share a little insight into companies that one can invest or buy stocks from? Because you mentioned earlier that you mentioned earlier about entrepreneurs investing in stock, and for someone without knowledge, what kind of companies or
So
investment can one hold? Yeah.
I am not gonna tell you to invest in stocks. Or sorry, let me not say that. That came out wrong. I'm not gonna tell you to invest in particular stocks. Okay, but you should definitely invest in stocks. Okay. The reason is, I want to come with some kind of deniability from that front in case it doesn't work for you, because it's a risk. Let's face it, it's a risk. I've invested in number of them. I know that during the pandemic I spent a little bit more time doing a lot of like research into companies. That's when I fully like started my own investment journey. um did a lot of research, and it was really taking my time. So I also followed a few persons on YouTube. I know Valuetainment, back then they were really focused with business investments and stuff like that. These days they're doing a lot of podcasts, I don't know, on politics and stuff like that. Yeah, so there were a lot of channels I was following at the time that I was using to learn. But what I'm going to advise is, with the AI space, okay, you want to identify things that are sure, or you have a high percentage of confidence that they are going to, like, for instance, we know that robotics are coming. You know it is coming. So you just need to identify companies that are most likely at the forefront, have some kind of proprietary technology. Because if a company has proprietary technology that they've been able to what's it called, um um, I'm blanking out on the word right now. They've been able to protect, essentially. I'm just trying to find the word, the business word for it. That they have the edge on that front, and no other company will be able to, like, come into that space, at least for the next 20 years. So those are the things you want to, like, really identify. Like the one I was telling you from my experience, was for the US, because Donald Trump, made some, changes, getting people in, like making sure that businesses are trooping in, to like all of the things, happening there, and most big companies also pledging to build, factories and stuff like that. So this means that part of the things they will need to do is to leverage, some companies already there that know how to do some things, which they need. So things like, let's say, setting up, data center, things like, silicon, like, all of those, things. So that, okay, this amount of money is coming in as per investment, so you're like, okay, which companies are best in this area, because those are the ones that will get the contracts to build some of these things, because they want to keep it in-house. So you identify some of those ones, and then you're able to strategically position yourself, and then but always diversify. That's what I'm gonna say. Even if you think or you have a lot of confidence, always diversify. Don't put your money in everything in one basket. It's a recipe for disaster.
Awesome. Awesome. That's a very good answer. So I was going to say, no more question, but a question just came in and I would just, read it out to you for you to just help do justice to this. So this person wants to know the future of universities and higher education, particularly for those people in non-sciences, humanities, and creative fields. The person is curious about what university education might look like in an AI-driven future.
Mhm. Well, what I'm gonna say is that there will definitely be, AI teachers, AI tutors. You would, most of the classes might be converted to, from individual people actually giving these lectures, to some AI. But it depends on how far we're looking into the future. Um, so in the immediate, we're still definitely going to see, if you're looking at, let's say, the next 5 years, definitely we're still going to be seeing, physical, teachers, in that space. So if you're really concerned about that, it shouldn't be in the immediate future. But eventually, I foresee, like I said earlier, some of the things are subjective, but you just if you see the trend and you've been in the space for a bit, you'll be able to identify some of the directions on how these things are going, because if you look at what it is these days, some lecturers are not even getting teaching assistants anymore. Okay, because AIs can do some of the things. Back when I was and teaching assistants, part of the things which we do is, create, assignments for students, mark those assignments, things like that. These days you can, use AI to do some of those heavy liftings. And then the professor focuses on, teaching and education. So it's going to move to a point whereby most of those, professors might eventually have to use some of their domain knowledge to do something with AI. Okay, it's not probably gonna eliminate them completely. So it could be like, the work with an AI to generate a teaching, like a class, and the AI is the one that actually does the teachings. What they need to do is to now review the content, making sure that everything is right, and that's it. Because sometimes AI could actually deliver it better. It's I know that there is still the human touch that needs to come into play. But we understand it's not everyone that can teach the same. We've had experiences in the past. You know that okay, this lecturer, oh, he's very good. This one, no, this one is not good, and stuff like that. They might know the stuff, but they don't know how to communicate it. And this is where AI might help to really, make sure that things are being delivered properly while they focus on all of the other activities, talking to students, yeah, but definitely AI is going to come in. Yeah.
Awesome. So someone just asked if you have a LinkedIn profile that they can connect with you.
My LinkedIn profile is there, but to be candid with you, I'm not very active at updating it because of a number of reasons, some of which I don't want to share on this call. But yes, definitely my LinkedIn profile is there, but it's not updated. Let me just share. Yeah, it's there.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
you can also share it if they want to connect you, it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll share it. So let me just drop it in the chat box. So I will drop your name and yeah, they will just search using that. Then yeah, the recording would actually be shared after the session. So we're going to have this uploaded on YouTube. And what you can do is replay it, share with a friend. The truth of the matter is that this is the best time for you to jump on the train. This is the best time to start upskilling. Things are going to change in the next 3 years, not even 5 years. In the next 3 years, a lot will change. So start learning now. Start using ChatGPT to learn about AI. You can tell ChatGPT to teach you about whatever you want to learn about AI. Like Rich Boy said, it would suggest tools to you. It will suggest platforms you can learn from. So start using ChatGPT. Ask those questions now. Use good prompts and you would get good answers. Then one other thing I want to say is that alongside learning how to use these AI tools, you also want to learn about critical thinking, because the quality of answer you would get from these AI tools is a function of the quality of question you actually feed in. So you want to be a good thinker, you want to be a creative thinker, you want to be a critical thinker. So alongside learning AI, you can also take courses on critical thinking. That will be really, really helpful to you. Okay, so we've actually come to the end of today's session, and I really want to thank you, Rich Boy, my mentor, for honoring this invite. It's a
Thank
privilege, to have you speak to us about AI. And I look forward to having you sometime in the future, because I know there is a lot you can actually, share with us. So thank you everyone for joining this month's edition of Eagles Mind Discussion, and see you next time. Bye.
thank you. Bye.